Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Success Secrets Revealed live stream show with Ronald Couming, your host. And I want to talk to you a little bit about what the show is about, why we created it. Then I'm going to introduce our sponsor. Then I'm going to introduce our guest. And today we're very grateful to have with us Brian K. Wright, who is the host of Success Profile and publisher of Success Profile magazine. And I'm going to go into that with you a little bit, as is he. But first, I want to tell you why we created this show. We created Success Secrets Revealed to bring on people, business owners, entrepreneurs, people who have started companies, grown companies, scaled companies, had tremendous success, both for themselves and helped other people. That's the important part. They have helped other people have success in their careers as well. And the thought process is, when we bring these people on and you listen to them and you learn from them, when you get into a situation as a business owner or an entrepreneur, first, you realize that you're not alone, that you're not the first person to experience this. And that sense of isolation, or in this case, non-isolation, is probably a blessing. Beyond that, it's also hoped that in listening to these people, you'll see what has happened with them, and then you'll be able to navigate out of those pitfalls a lot quicker than had you not been able to listen to this show and other episodes, and certainly other shows that are available to you. The sponsor for this show is my company. It's RCS Online Solutions. We're a full slate digital marketing company, and let's just be totally honest and authentic here. You can have the best copy, the best product, the best service, the best website. You can have the best everything in the world. If people can't find you, they can't consider you, and they certainly can't hire you. So awareness equals opportunity. That's what I like to tell my clients. You need to be able to attract, convert, and retain your ideal customers and clients to achieve even greater success, and that's what we do for you. Our guest today, as I spoke about briefly a few seconds ago, is Brian K. Wright. He is the host of Success Profiles Radio and publisher of Success Profile magazines. Over the last 8 years, Brian has interviewed world-class achievers such as Darren Hardy, Jack Canfield, Loral Langemeier, Kevin Harrington, Sharon Lechter, Chris Powell, Dan Loke, Stedman Graham, John Assaraf, Denis Waitley, and many, many more. With the lessons he has learned from these achievers and through his own experience, he seeks to educate, motivate, and inspire others to become a greater version of themselves. He is the author of 4 books, including the #1 Amazon bestseller, Success Profiles, Conversations with High Achiever, Volumes 2. Let's find out what happened to Volume 1. Brian, how you doing today?
Fantastic. How are you?
Excellent, excellent. Where you calling in from, brother?
I am in the Phoenix area in Arizona, where it's going to be triple digits again today.
Seriously?
Yeah, we started getting triple digits last weekend.
Oh man, in Boston, like we didn't know how to act. Yesterday it was, well, first of all, let me bring you on. In Boston yesterday, we didn't know how to act because it was literally like 70 to almost 80 degrees yesterday. And, you know, even with this COVID scare going on, there was multiple people on the beaches, and, you know, everybody was appropriately wearing their masks, but we were feeling the sun. So it was beautiful.
Oh, you have to get outside. I mean, vitamin D gives you energy. It's healing. You have to go outside.
I love it. And it's also, I believe, right, I believe that the ultraviolet light, some of the stuff that I've heard, that it literally kills the virus almost on contact, but certainly a lot quicker. Yeah. So getting outside and enjoying the sunlight in this time, it's not only good just, for health reasons, but mentally and emotionally, we're all going through a lot right now. So being able to get out, get some fresh air and walk around and feel that light on you is amazing. But can you tell us a little bit more about who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. Well, I host a radio show called Success Profiles Radio, which I started in January 2012. And after a few years of doing that, I realized I had so much content that I wanted to repurpose that it would be a crime not to do it. So I started Success Profiles Magazine in December of 2017. Kevin Harrington was my very first cover. And it's because he was on my show several months prior, people who are on the cover of my magazine are usually people who have been on my show or who I've interviewed for other reasons previously. So that has been really a fun journey. And I'm also an author. I've got 4 books, and I also ghostwrite books for other people. So I help people get their message out to the world in a bigger way. And I want to inspire, motivate, and educate people to be a better version of themselves. That's what I love doing.
I love it. And what is your process? If somebody, I like how you interview, and that's sort of like what I do. I've had a radio show, Internet Marketing and Business Solutions with Ronald Couming, almost 4 years now. You've been a guest on that show as well. And I interview people too, and then I, upload it and stuff. What got you to, thinking about converting it into a book? I too have, taken a bunch of clips and stuff, and I'm heading that way myself, but you're a pioneer in this space. So what brought your thought process into that? How did it help you, and how can something similar? I mean, when somebody interviews somebody, how can that help them? How can it help their people that they work with? And just talk about that a little bit, if you don't mind.
Sure. I have a really strong belief in what I'm doing. I love my show. I love bringing world-class experts on my show to talk about their story and what they achieved and how they overcame, and then what lessons we can all learn from that. And it's an opportunity for people with various levels of world-class expertise to talk about what they do and what we can learn. And I knew that I had so much content that I wanted to repurpose it into books. Now, here's the thing. People may know I have a show. They may not know I have a magazine. People may read my magazine, but not know that I am an author. People might know that I'm an author, but they don't necessarily know that I ghostwrite books for other people. So all of these things synergize together. And so when somebody finds you in one place, they're more likely to start looking for you and see where else you are, because it's a form of social proof. It's like, oh, well, if he's here and he's here and here and here, and they see you everywhere, then that must, by extension, mean that you're doing something amazing in the world. So that was just another way of branching out. And some of the people I've had in my books, for example, the first Conversations with High Achievers book had Darren Hardy, Sharon Lechter, Tom Ziegler, Frank Shankowitz, who started the Make-A-Wish Foundation. A movie about his life was released last year. I got to do red carpet interviews in LA for the world premiere of that. That was amazing. But it's pretty cool to be able to interview these people and then put them all together in a book, and then be able to say to somebody, here, if you haven't heard my show and you prefer to read, here's another way you can consume the same content. And it's edited. And what I do is I make both of us sound amazing. Because, in conversations, it never happens in a straight line. We might say, well, let's talk about this later, or I want to go back to something that I just talked about a minute ago. But when you edit these for the purpose of a book, you make sure it happens in a straight line. And sometimes if you find that someone isn't quite answering the question you asked them, you can massage a little bit, or even just take it out if you need to.
I love it. And what I'm thinking of doing, and it's so funny you say that, because I've, like I said, I had the radio show for over 3.5 years now, and I've interviewed every single person that you've mentioned. And also this live stream show I've had this is like my 4th or 5th week now. And most of everybody on there, with the exception of Kevin Harrington, has been on my show. And what I ask every single person is, can you give us 3 tips, which I'm going to ask you as well, but can you give us 3 tips on what an entrepreneur, a business owner, or an entrepreneur, or somebody who wants to be, to start, grow, or scale their business? Now, I'm going to ask you that question to answer it in a second. But what I've also done is, in my mind, and I'm going to have my VA go through line by line and take their 3 tips out. And then I'm going to create tips by like 30, 40, 50, 60 people, and either create a book or some type of a PDF and just condense it down. Because you're right. If we're talking for 30 or 40 minutes, sometimes things can, get out there and people start thinking about lunch or whatever. Right. But when you can condense it, I think that has a lot more value.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And having a VA for a purpose like that would be really, really fantastic, because if you got someone helping you and you know what you want that person to do and they do it well, it's easy. In fact, I interviewed Dane Maxwell. We talked about scaling and sourcing out. In fact, I asked him, how do you know when it's time to source out stuff in your business? And he very quickly said, whenever you decide you want a better life. I'm like, oh, God, what a great answer.
Oh, absolutely. I tell my clients that all day. I mean, you have to learn it, do it, and delegate it. But more important than delegating is duplicating. Mm-hmm. So if you if you provide a product or a service, right, you can delegate it, but when you delegate it, you're relying upon that person's skill set, in their, whatever they're going to do, and then signing your name to it, so to speak, right? But when you delegate, when you duplicate, rather, you're creating videos, you're creating systems, you're creating processes, and then you're giving that to somebody and saying, do this. When this happens, when I tell you to do this, I want you to do this. And then they go step by step. They send it to you. You edit it. So now you just took a 30-hour project and you reduced it down to like 40 minutes. But at the end of the day, what you're producing to the world is exactly the same as what you would have done for yourself. But now you're getting paid on that. You're paying somebody on that, and then you're keeping the difference. So, who was it? Michael Gerber, and he talks about working on your business instead of working in your business. So I love the points you were making on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. So you were asking me what my 3 tips are for growing a business. Number 1, you need to know what your superpower is. That's hugely important.
First, but when you say that, you and I understand that, but some other people might think you're talking about kryptonite or something. Yeah. When you say you have to know what your superpower is, can you tell us what you mean by a superpower in the sense of a business owner and an entrepreneur?
Absolutely. What is it that you do better than anybody else? That's important to know and understand. Now, some people might think, I don't know what I'm good at. Well, ask other people. When you think of me, when I ask you, what do you think I'm good at? Name 2 or 3 things that you think I'm really, really good at. And if you start getting the same answers over and over again, that's a clue that maybe you can put together a business around that. I think my superpower is communicating. I love to interview people, and I love to write, and I love to speak. And so communicating my ideas is my superpower, and helping other people do that is something that I do. In fact, I tell people, if you are looking to put a business together, and I ask this question of my clients when I help them write books, the thing that you need to write your book about, or whatever you want to do, is based around 3 things. Number 1, what do you know a lot about? Number 2, what do your customers want to know a lot more about? And number 3, what will your customers pay for? The intersection of those 3 things is what your book or your business idea needs to be. So know your superpower, know what you do better than anyone else, and know how you can serve the world better than anyone else in that way.
I love it. And I love what you just spoke about too. You can have all the passion, you can have all the knowledge, you can have everything you want in the world, right? In that regard. But if people don't want it or need it, they're not going to pay for it. Now, that's not a reflection of your worth as a human being. It's just a reflection of whether or not what you have or want to put out to the marketplace has value. So if someone wants to determine what they have to offer, or what they think they have to offer has value to the marketplace, and by that I mean that other people are going to pay for that knowledge or that service or whatever it is, how can they kind of get a good sense on whether or not that is something that will work for them?
I think, especially now with the pandemic going on, a lot of people are linking their topics to what is going on, and it's resonating. Another quick example, if you want to get into the speaking world and your topic is how to get organized, or if your topic is how to get motivated. Okay, so how do you relate that to your audience? Because your audience is who you need to be focusing on. It's not just what you want to talk about. Like I mentioned before, it's what your audience is willing to consume and potentially pay for. So I think a lot of people now who are in businesses that play very well in this pandemic. For example, if you were in the financial services industry where you are helping people get business loans and helping people clean up their credit, that plays really well. So you have to link your business or your idea somehow to things that are going on. In fact, if you're looking to get interviewed by the media, they are always looking for a hook that is relevant to something that is current. That will get you play much more quickly than just speaking about whatever you want to talk about because you're passionate about it. Your audience doesn't always care about how passionate you are about something. They're always tuning into the channel of what's in it for me. So figure out what that is. You can spin just about anything into something relevant. You just have to figure out what that link is.
I love it. And that's so relevant for 2 points. I want to write down one thing before I forget, because it's an old age thing, right? But I once was in this group called BNI many years ago, and I couldn't stay because I was traveling the country and speaking, and I couldn't meet my weekly commitments. But one person who was there, she's a great person, but she cleaned, and she would talk about, I have a passion for cleaning. And that was great. She was a wonderful person, and they did an amazing job. But at the end of the day, business, people who are buying a service, they want to know about, like you just touched on, the WIFM, what's in it for me, you know what I mean, about the results, the process, what if somebody hires you, and you talked about it earlier today too, and I really like that, was what sets you apart. You talked about your superpower. Another way of saying that might be, what's your unique selling proposition? What is it that somebody will hire you over opposed to the person next door or 2 miles away who does something very similar to you? That's your unique selling proposition. So what makes you the person they want to hire? So just telling somebody, I have a passion for cleaning, that's great, we love it, but at the end of the day, what's your results? You know what I mean? And so I love the way that you're touching on these points. And the other thing, when you talk about with a reporter, there is a service called HERO, Help a Reporter Out, right? And so people can go there and they can sign up. And when they sign up, they'll get an email, and it will talk about different types of subject matter. And if you have something to offer on that, you can click on it and offer it. And if they use it, they will use it, and they will post it, and there will be a link back to you. So that will help you grow your credibility. But what are some of the other ways? I mean, you've talked about some great things, including a book. I know a lot of people who want to write a book. So what are some ways that people can write a book, and why should they write a book? I mean, you and I both know that it's like far better than a business card, right? When you're an actual author. But speak a little bit about that to the audience.
It's a credibility piece, really. And I'll tell you what, over 80% of people out there want to write a book, but far, far fewer people actually do. And you might wonder, well, why is that? Well, some people don't know if they have something legitimate to say. I'm here to say that you do. You just haven't had someone around you who's been able to pull that out of you yet. Another reason why someone may not write a book is because they don't think they have time, because it can be very time consuming. And the third reason why some people don't write books is because they don't think they're a very good writer, or they had an English teacher tell them they were horrible. I'll tell you what, Robert Kiyosaki will always say he's a best-selling writer, not a best writing author. So if you ever read his books, you know that sometimes, I mean, they're great books, lots of valuable information, but he's not Shakespeare, and he's not trying to be. So have a message out there. I mean, a lot of different ways you can do it too. I mean, I'll tell you the way I wrote my first book. I wanted to write a student leadership book because I wanted to start speaking to students, high school students, college students, etc. And so I sat out on my patio with a legal pad one day, and I wrote at the top of the page, what makes an excellent leader? And my goal was to come up with at least 21 different ways to answer that question. I came up with 30. As I started writing, those 30 topics became 21 because some of them were very closely related. But each of those answers to my questions were short chapters. I had a 96-page book. And it's legit. I mean, some people think, oh, your book has to be at least 200 pages for it to be real. No, it does not. Say what you want to say and be done. People don't want to read fluff. I would rather read a 100-page book that is jam-packed with information than a 300-page book that's fluffy, occasionally something valuable, and then fluffy again. I don't want to read that. I don't have time. Your audience has a short attention span because there's so many things competing for our attention right now. Just get to it, say it, be done. If you have more to say, write another book. You don't have to say it all. You don't have to say everything in one book. You really don't.
I love it. So that's so cool too. And that's so right. I mean, if you look at it, I think I read a statistic because I've written a couple of books myself, and I've been part of books as well. But I think I read a statistic that a book over like 100 pages has, people will read, if it's under 100 pages, you have like almost 100% of the people will read the book. But once it gets over to 100 pages or even like a 300-page book, which is really not that much because everything is big print and double spaced, it drops to like a 40%. completion rate. So if somebody, let's say somebody wanted to write a cookbook, what would be some of your helpful tips on that? And we maybe a couple of other examples. I don't want to just focus solely on books, but we both know that once you write a book, you become an authority in that space, and then you'll make money off the book, but you're not going to get rich, more than likely, unless you're like a Sidney Sheldon or something. But for the most part, that becomes a calling card that gets you in the door for other events and other things, and they might turn around and buy your book to give it out to people in the audience. But then it allows you to get speaking gigs and others.
Yeah. If you're writing a cookbook, for example, which I've not done, but just some ideas off the top of my head, it depends on who your audience is going to be. If you are a French chef or you're trained in that, then your book might be about that. What kinds of foods might somebody who's high level or elite want to serve at their party? If your book is more about cooking for kids, what fast, easy meals can you cook for kids that don't take much time, don't take much money, and you can be done? That might be a cookbook. If you like sports, your cookbook might be about tailgating. So what kinds of tailgating party foods can you make? Another kind of cookbook might be centered around holiday cooking, whether it's Christmas or whether it's Thanksgiving or whether it's Easter, or whether it's birthday. So it really depends on the occasion. It depends on what your cooking level of expertise is and who you want your audience to be. You don't want a cookbook to be all things to all people, because not everyone can. If I see a cookbook with, how to, cook steaks and then how to make, high-end appetizers that you might see it like caviar or whatever, or sushi, those may not fit in the same book because the same person might not enjoy that. So focus on a niche. That's the key. Focus on a niche, know who your audience is. And any kind of book, you need to know who your audience is going to be. If you think, well, my book's for everyone. No, it's not. I'm telling you, no, it is not. Because Ron, you and I, we probably do like a lot of the same books because we have a lot of similar interests. But someone off the street may not read the kind of book that we write. And I may not write the kind of book that they want me to write. And so you got to know your audience and you got to know who your niche is. And that is so critically important.
I love it. And to me, that really cuts it right to the chase and the core. You have to know, and not everybody is a fit. You're not writing, it's not a billboard, it's not like you're, creating a billboard and people are passing by and everybody is going to love what you have to say. So find out who your niche audience is, find out what they want, and produce something that they actually want and need. It's not about what you think and feel. It's about what they want and need. So sometimes it's a good idea to kind of like do a survey or, ask people, what is it that the marketplace actually wants? You're in the publishing industry. Can you tell us a little bit more about, like, you have a radio show and you also have a publishing service. Can you tell us a little bit more about how you created both, how they blend together, and then going forward, what can they possibly do for someone? Because we might have people here who would love to listen and learn from you and participate.
Sure, absolutely. So my radio show started in January 2012, like I mentioned before, and Hal Elrod was my very first guest. And I had met him at several events prior to all of this. And I wanted someone who I felt like I could do a good show with. And he very graciously said yes. And I will always be very, very thankful that he agreed to be first. This is before he wrote Miracle Morning. He's got the Miracle Morning and a whole bunch of spin-off books in that series. This was before all of that. In fact, I asked him during the show, I've been hearing about this Miracle Morning. Tell us about that. And he said, I haven't finished writing it yet. I said, well, then when you have gotten it done, we'll have you back. An hour or a year and a half later, he came back on my show, and he's been on my show a third time. So having great guests really does help. And when I realized after a while that I had content that I wanted to repurpose, I decided to start a magazine. I sat on the domain successprofilesmagazine.com for a couple of years, and I was renewing it for the third year and realized, oh, Brian, you haven't done anything with this yet. So I was convicted. I knew I had to do something. So I did. And I thought, who could my first cover be? Well, I had interviewed Kevin Harrington about 6 months prior. And so I emailed him. I said, Kevin, thanks once again for being on my show a few months ago. I'm doing something new. I have a magazine. I'd like to curate content from our radio interview that we already did. No additional time is needed from you. Now, this is the really important part, because if you want someone high level to cooperate with you, you need to make it super, super easy for them to say yes. In other words, don't make them do things that they don't have time to do. Don't make them jump through your hoops. I used content that we already created together. All I need is a great photo. And he said, I'm on it. He had somebody send me a great photo for the cover. And that's where it was born. I do that every single month. And it's the idea, again, of having your content in many, many different places. What I also do in my magazine is I have little ads for my ghostwriting services. If you've ever thought about writing a book and you want to talk more about how we make that happen, email me at brian@briankWright.com. And that's what the little ad says. In fact, I've gotten clients off of that. In fact, I was meeting somebody who I know on Facebook, and he was visiting in Phoenix, and I happened to get together with him. He knew somebody local here in Phoenix, in the Scottsdale area. He brought this person to our meeting with us, and we just sat around, talked, and I brought a magazine, and the person I didn't know grabbed the magazine, started thumbing through it. He saw that. He said, you ghostwrite books? I said, yeah. Are you looking to do a book? Yeah. Are you looking to write it yourself, or you need help? I need help. Let's meet up here again in 3 days. And we set up an appointment, and long story short, he became a client. So he became a client because I had an ad for my own services in my magazine, and I have it for my radio show in the magazine. Listen to Success Profiles Radio, download and subscribe on iTunes. You can synergize all of your services when you have a platform like that.
I love it. And that cross promotion, and you talked about being another name for it is omnipresent, being on so many different platforms at the same time. And you can take your content like this as an example. This feed, this interview I'm doing right now, and this is for the listeners. I want the listeners to understand this. I'm now going to take this, as I told the interviewees, I'm going to take this video and I'm going to share it on YouTube, my platforms, all throughout my social medias, and I hope that they will as well. But I'm also going to take out the audio. I'm going to have the audio shared to my radio show, Internet Marketing and Business Solutions with Ronald Couming, which has roughly 1.7 million reach. I'm going to send it to the station. They're going to put it in the rotation. It's going to go out. I'm then going to take that audio clip, that same clip, I'm going to send it to my VA, and we're going to put it up on several different podcast sites, and we're going to have it transcribed through rev.com. It's like $1 a minute. And then we're going to take that and we're going to create a blog post out of the interview and put it up on Medium and several other platforms. So you can create massive content. This one 30, 40-minute interview, I'm going to get at least 14 different pieces of content out of this one interview. And it's really going to cost me, virtually in terms of money, less than $20, $30 when you're using a VA, and that includes the time it takes to post it. But you've got to create the systems. Okay, I want you to go through this. I want you to do this, pull this out. Where I say I ask them 3 tips, grab their 3 tips. Don't worry about the rest. Whatever it is, you know what I mean? Take their picture. I love how you said no additional time is needed when you talk about the people, because there are people that we want to interview that can add tremendous value to our listeners, right, and help them scale. But they just don't have time. They want to contribute. So when we ask them to give pictures, to give quotes, to give 3 tips, it's super impactful for other people. But we need to make it as less, I don't want to say burdensome, but less, time consuming on their part.
Yeah. If you want to get a really great testimonial from somebody high level that you've worked with, here's a strategy that I learned from someone else. Write 3 of your own testimonials and send it to them. Ask them to pick one or to write their own. Sometimes people will still write their own. But if they like one of the testimonials, they'll just say, use number 2 and put my name on it. It's all good. You want to make it easy for them. I mean, how awesome is it? I mean, because a lot of people's testimonials that you see out there, some of them wrote the testimonials themselves, and the celebrity said, yeah, use that one. That's okay. In fact, I interviewed somebody on my radio show, and I asked for a testimonial. He gave me the first sentence and said, you can complete it. Send it to me. If I agree that this was true, then you can use it. And I did. And he said yes. So it was awesome.
And I love that. And I had to go out because I wanted to write that down. But to send 3, because we both know that when we talk about social proof is the word, right? So when we have other people who have name recognition, they have influence, when they say something about you, preferably positive. And you know what I mean? And you make it as easy as possible for them, but it will scale you. People will look at that. And you know what I mean? So when you can send them 3 or 4 different ideas based upon individual, you don't write just 3 and send it to everybody. You know, you had an interaction with an individual. You write 2 or 3 based upon that interaction. Keep it simple, you know, 2 to 3, maybe maximum 5 sentences, and send it to them, and they sign it. But then you blast the hell out of that, and believe me, that just scales you.
Absolutely. I mean, you can't send the same 3 testimonials to everybody, because what if 4 people pick the same testimonial? You can't. There's no way. I mean, it wouldn't be believable, right? So make it customized to the person you're talking to.
I love it. Now, tell us a little bit more. I mean, we've been going back and forth. I want, you know, in the next 5 or 10 minutes, I want you to talk about you, your services, your products. How do you help people? How can people learn and grow from you?
Absolutely. So what I'm doing is I do a monthly magazine, like I mentioned, Success Profiles Magazine, which is an extension of the radio show brand. And what I do, which I think is really interesting to help people who want to be on the cover of a magazine, is I do shorter 8-page versions of that under the banner of Success Profiles Magazine. And I help people brand themselves with no articles, no other person's ads, just you, hypothetically, generically you on the cover, an article, and then a back cover. And that is a branding tool that people have used very successfully to grow their businesses. I've had clients send them to media to get interviewed. I had one client who sent his to a radio station and got interviewed the next day because he was promoting a live event that he was doing 2 or 3 months into the future. I've had people give these away at sponsorship tables where they've invested in a sponsorship booth at a live event. They've given those away. I've had people give them away at networking events. Think about this, Ron. If you're having a conversation with someone and someone says, I love what you're doing, I'd love to stay connected, do you have a card? I have a magazine. And you hand them a magazine instead of a card, and they think, oh, what is this? Now you have permission to talk about yourself some more, because no one else is doing that. Some people might give a book. It's okay. But a magazine, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And you might think, well, why not a brochure? Well, everyone expects you to talk about how amazing you think you are in a brochure. But when you're being interviewed by somebody to talk about how wonderful you are, that's somebody else propping you up. So I help people brand themselves with a customizable short magazine all about them. And people love this. And I've been doing a whole bunch of them.
I love it. And I remember the first time that you and I met, I don't know, it was 3 or 4 years ago, was at an event. And it literally, I think you were sitting next to me. There was a chair between us, but there was like a stack of stuff on the chair. And I'm looking over and, you know, I'm thinking about, well, it's kind of crowded. People might need that chair. But you had a stack of magazines here. And I'm like, who is this guy? Right? And I said, you know, I just started talking to you, right? Yeah. And you gave me a magazine, and exactly what you just said. When I looked at the magazine, I was like, wow, this is much better than a business card.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I certainly would have moved the magazines if someone needed a chair, but yes, I absolutely needed. Yeah, we were practicing social distancing even before it was popular, right?
Oh, no.
Who knew? But yeah, I mean, you bring stuff like that to an event, and after a while, you figure out about how many you want to give away. Now, you're not going to give one away to everybody. You're going to give it away to people who you've had a conversation with. I mean, I had a realtor one time who said, I've got 8,000 people in my firm. I'm not going to send 8,000 of these out. I'm like, no, of course you're not. Most of them don't know who you are yet. You know, send out mailers first, and then the people who show an interest and you have a conversation, let's just say that they haven't said yes to you yet. They want more information. Well, here's a magazine.
Nice. Now, that magazine you're talking about, too, I assume it's in digital format. The one you gave me was, you know, it was physical. So if it's in digital format, they can, in fact, send it out to a whole bunch of people at no additional cost through email or text with the link wherever.
Send it out to your email list. Absolutely. In fact, I have some clients who use the digital one to put on their website as a free giveaway. It's a lead gen. It's a lead capture.
Big time.
I'll give this to you if you give me your email address. That's perfectly legit.
And at the end of the day, right, if you actually control that content, you control the who gets in, so to speak, who gets interviewed, who gets on the cover, it then becomes a monetary potential profit to whoever has it. So somebody going forward who wants to kind of like recreate this idea, not just, it's great. It's a great lead gen, but it can also make you money because the people who are getting listed, the people who are getting on the front page, people who are putting little ads in. I mean, literally thousands of people are going to see this.
Mhm.
And if it's your audience and those people see it and they need one of your products or services, you're going to make a ton of money. So, can you talk to us a little bit about how that's worked for you? I mean, the magazine, how that's worked for you in terms of creating income. You've already mentioned one where you had it up there, but I'm assuming other people could advertise inside of what you've already created. If their business is to owners and entrepreneurs, you've already created a platform for them, so they could consider, speaking to you about that.
Right. If someone wants to advertise in Success Profiles magazine in one of the monthly issues, they're more than welcome to do that. And they would get, I would be glad to, give them the PDF so that they can email that out to their people, whatever, that'd be fine. It's people ask, well, talk about distribution. I'm like, well, really, it's what you do with it. I mean, I have an audience, but it's really much more about how you capitalize with your audience on this. I mean, if you've got an email list, if you speak on a regular basis, if you do virtual events, live events, if you do sponsor tables, if you go to networking events, you can give these away at home shows, trade shows, networking events. You can send it to celebrities or other people you want to connect or collaborate with. It's a great way to introduce yourself in a way that not many people are using.
I love it. And it is not many people. I mean, truthfully, let's not be humble, brother. I mean, literally like 1 out of every probably 50,000. I mean, it's so rare. But so what you're doing, kudos to you, because it is such a unique and it's just such a unique, incredible way to get out there in front of people. If somebody wants, I mean, I first, before I ask you, I mean, please feel free to give your contact information. I have some information here in the banner. I'm going to put that, scroll it down the bottom. So people can possibly reach out and contact with you. But, in the next 3 to 5 minutes, 7 minutes, can you please tell us, anything you want the people to know about you and how they can utilize your services, benefit from your services, or anything along that line?
Great. And I'm seeing it says along the bottom, go to the website. The website is briankWright.com, BrianKWright.com, BrianKWright.com. You can learn all about me there. There's a contact form there if you want to contact me through that as well. You can see, my books, my magazine, my radio show. And if you want to email me, just email me, Brian@BrianKWright.com. If you want to do one of these special magazines, let's have a talk and see if it's a fit. It's not for everybody. I've learned recently that there are certain people in certain industries that maybe it's a much better fit for than others. But if you are a speaker, author, consultant, trainer, business person, it's awesome. If you're a nonprofit, this is amazing to generate awareness and fundraise for your cause. If you are in the trades, I'll tell you, I have somebody who does an iron door business here in the Phoenix area. It's a great way to post before and after pictures of your work. If you're a general contractor, if you're in construction, great way to showcase your work. What did this kitchen look like before you got your hands on it? And what does it look like now? Transformational pictures are powerful. I mean, even in the fitness industry, before and after pictures of your clients, there are so many different ways you can use this. And I'd be glad to speak with anybody about that and see if it's a fit.
And that's priceless, before and after. When you talked about iron door, I'm sitting there and I'm nodding my head and I'm saying, what the heck's an iron door? But I figured it was before and after pictures, right? But sometimes I listen. Go ahead.
Right. If someone's got a big wooden door that sticks and, with the weather, the dimensions change and it's hard to open and close a door. With iron doors, they're very protective. They open very easily. It's a security thing.
Yeah. And so when you said iron door, you meant literally an iron door.
An iron door. And it adds a lot of home value to your home. Literally an iron door with it's a designer customized door for your front door.
Brian, I want to tell you, when I heard iron door, I didn't think of literally an iron door. I thought of some type of like offer or something. It was an iron door, but I'm not a homeowner, so I wouldn't have known. But so that's excellent. But sometimes when we speak, you know what I mean? Like I'll speak and I just assume that people know what I mean, but because it's just so prevalent in my mind, and I lose people. But in this case here, you know, what you're offering is absolutely amazing. If somebody has a product or a service that serves people in whatever industry or whatever space, and you know, the magazine, the radio show that you've created, it, you know, it speaks to certain people. So people who get on that or get in that, in the case of your magazine, now have access to a built-in audience. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And because you have advertised them, there is a level of, you know, transference of trust, because you're going to vet whoever. You're not just going to take somebody's advertising dollars because, you know, if they're a fraud or something, you know, you'll lose everything in the long run. So it's not worth the short money. So people know in advance that if you're advertising for somebody, that they're legitimate and they can use them. So to me, you know, anybody who wants to advertise in your magazine to access the people that your magazine goes to, both digitally and in print, you know, it's a no-brainer. There's a no loss here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really a great idea. So if anyone does want to advertise in the monthly edition, or if they want to have their own customized edition of the magazine, reach out to me, Brian@briankwright.com, or just go to briankwright.com and hit the contact form and say you heard me on Ron's show, and we'll talk.
Excellent. Now, is there anything that we haven't touched upon? I want to make sure this interview is really about you, and you know, we interject back and forth, but at the end of the day, I want to make sure that you've gotten across everything you wanted to get across. So please, I have no time rush. 3, 5, 7 minutes, whatever you want. Just speak.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. You're very generous. Thank you. If anyone does want to get any of my books, Success Profiles, Conversations with High Achievers, Volume 1 and 2 are on Amazon. In fact, Volume 2, the Kindle version, is still 99 cents. I mean, you can't even shake a stick at that. Get it. It's great. Volume 2 featured interviews with Kevin Harrington, Dan Locke, Brad Sugars, who founded Action Coach, the largest business coaching company in the entire world, Chris Powell, who was the a host of Extreme Weight Loss, ABC's Extreme Weight Loss, personal trainer, celebrity trainer. He was fantastic. So those books are on Amazon. And again, if you want to reach out to me about, you know, doing a magazine, or if you've had an idea for a book in your head that you want to talk about, reach out to me, Brian@briankwright.com. I'd be glad to have a conversation with you. Or go to briankwright.com, fill out that contact form. It goes right to me, and I'll reach back out to you and we'll schedule something.
I love it, Brian. I've known you for years. You've been a guest on both my radio show, my live stream. I recommend you. I think you're a rock star.
Thank you.
You know, maybe you need to send me one of those 3 things so I can make it official, so you can put it up on your site. But I absolutely believe in you and what you're doing, brother.
Awesome. Thank you, Ron. It's been fun being here, and I appreciate all that you do as well.
Yeah, you've earned it, brother. So, you know, is there anything else you want to say before we close out?
I would say do not give up. I mean, in times like this, the people who are continuing to invest in themselves and in their business will be the ones who are miles ahead when this is all said and done. Think about the people who took action during the last recession a decade ago. Uber was formed, Airbnb was formed, Amazon took off, and look at where they are now. This is the time to create a lot of content. I've been creating a lot of content during the last 6 weeks or so, and it's paying off. I've been staying very, very productive. So don't be afraid to keep investing in who you are and in your message, because that will show in the end.
And I love it. And like this episode right here, this is a form of content. So people can create live streams just by interviewing people that they've met at different events, whether it's a meetup event, an Eventbrite, or, you know, they've gone out, like you and I, we've gone out on a speaker tour. So we've kind of like met people on a much, you know, just absolutely amazing people. So I've been blessed, and I assume you have as well. But, you know, people, you know, like I said, this particular piece of content will generate 12 pieces of content before I'm done. And I'm doing 5 a week. That's 70 pieces of content. And I promise you, I will find a way to double that.
And here's something else I started doing very recently. And if you haven't been doing this, I encourage you to, and I can connect you to somebody who's been doing this for me. I do 1-minute audiograms based on my episodes. So what I do is I will pick 1-minute clips, a couple of 1-minute clips from my show. I will pay someone to isolate that clip and then put that against my logo. And someone can click and listen to that 1-minute clip, and you just put in the notes, you know, if you want. I talked with so-and-so on my show this week, and we talked about why emotional mastery is very important for you right now, or whatever the topic happens to be. And he does 2 of those for me a week, and I post them all over the place.
I love it. Yeah. Can you send me that person?
I will.
I'd love to connect with them, and I want to implement it, because that's like another 2, because it's me and the person that I'm interviewing who's going to promote it, and then we push it out on their platform. So if I have 5 platforms and they have 5 or 3, let's say they have 5, there's another additional 10 different pieces of content that we're pushing. So I love how you talk about creating the content. It's simple. None of this stuff is super expensive. It might take a little bit of your time, but I promise you, if you add value first, if you serve and don't sell, if you focus on creating relationships, yes, at the end of the day, it's, you know, you have to worry about ROI. You got to, you know, if you're spending money, are you making money back on, you know, what you're spending? You know, that's just straight business. But in the long run, if you are focused more on ROR, focusing on your return on relationships, provide value first, speak to people, get people to know you, like you, and trust you. And in the long term, your business will just, it's, you know, scale to heights you can't even imagine.
And get testimonials from people who have been on your show.
Excellent.
I've gotten some high-level people on my show because I've interviewed their friends.
I love it. Now, can you send me a link for that, brother? Because I'm going to give you a testimonial, and hopefully you'll give me mine. And then I'm going to push that out to my people. And then, you know, whatever you can do, you can push it out to yours. I've done, I don't even know. I have close to 500 videos with interviews up on YouTube, and I'm willing to share, brother. So let's just make this happen.
All righty. I'm going to write that down right now.
All right. I'm going to hold because I don't want to break your concentration.
No, we're all good.
Brian, this has been excellent, brother. And I'm jealous, man. You got triple digits. I mean, we got, at best, it might be like 65, 70 out there. I was at the beach the other day. Like I said, I had my mask on. We were doing the social distancing thing. But I got to feel and listen to the waves. I got to feel that sun. I had my shirt off. And it was just such a, sometimes you need to disconnect to reconnect. You know what I mean?
We don't really have a beach in Arizona, but we'll go hiking. Come on out here.
Nice, but you must have a pond, right?
Oh, yeah. Town Lake does have a man-made beach, and it's a man-made pond, and people go canoeing, and they walk and bicycle. There's like a mile-long stretch of sidewalk on both sides of the lake.
I love it. And if you don't, you can always add water to a cup and just walk around it, right?
Absolutely.
All right, Brian, so much. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Hi, everybody. This has been a great episode. You've been listening to the Success Secrets Revealed with Brian K. Wright. He's the host of Success Profiles Radio. And this was a great episode. I hope you will go back and listen to it. It's been our sponsor has been RCS Online Solutions, where we help business owners and entrepreneurs attract, convert, and retain their ideal customers and clients to achieving even greater success. At the end of the day, you can have the best service, the best product, the best copy, the best website, the best everything, the best pictures. You know, you can, be on top of everything. But if people can't find you when they need the solutions you provide, they're not going to hire you, correct? So if you're on the first page of the search engines for your company's name, or your name, I'm here to tell you that really means nothing, because no one's searching for your company. No one's searching for you unless they know you and forgot your email address. So at the end of the day, they're searching for the solutions and the products that you provide. So that's what you need to be ranking for. Again, I want to thank you all. I highly recommend that you check out Brian K. Wright. Look him up, Google him, and his services are phenomenal. His friends and the people he knows are tremendous. So you want to get in his sphere so you can start the process of getting to be known, liked, and trusted. So again, this is Ron Couming from Success Secrets Revealed. I hope you all have a great day.